We become what we repeatedly do, said Marcus Aurelius, therefore choose what you do, for that is what you become. Tonight we expose 7 everyday habits silently draining the strength from modern men. Watch through the last chapter, then drop the habit you'll drop first, hit like so the algorithm knows Stoic men still stand, and subscribe for next week's upgrade. Your future self is waiting on the other side of these pages. Chapter 1: Sedentary Lifestyle. Your body is the end product of an unfathomable experiment in motion. For thousands of generations, every male ancestor who secured your DNA survived by walking whole continents, sprinting from predators, clambering cliffs for honeycombs, and dragging carcasses back to the fire. Calves evolved as shock absorbers, hips as gyroscopes, shoulders as spear throwers. Yet modern convenience has cordoned that heroic biology inside a swivel chair. The average man now spends more hours gripping a phone than his forebears spent gripping a spear. Blood designed to course through running muscle instead crawls through vessels bent at 90 degrees beneath fluorescent cubicles. Lungs built for wind over savannas sip recycled air. Eyes meant to scan horizons contract around static blue light. The cost is not merely an expanding waistline, it is a contracting life. The Stoics understood this long before ergonomics became a field. They wrestled, marched, practiced military drills, not for abs, but for acuity. Epictetus warned that indulgent bodies breed indulgent judgments. Marcus Aurelius wrote that a commander's mind stays keen only when his limbs stay ready. Modern data echoes them. Oxygenated blood sharpens neural pathways, regular exertion heightens BDNF, that miracle grow for neurons, while sedentary weeks raise cortisol, flatten testosterone, and smother dopamine responsiveness. Skip motion long enough and it is decisiveness, not definition, that first withers. Choices that once felt clear now feel fogged. You defer, hesitate, catastrophize. Elevators become tiny treaties of surrender, each skipped stair flight mortgages capacity you have not yet earned. Sedentariness is a slow-motion bargain with entropy. It begins innocently, a hectic quarter, an injury, a new streaming service. Then days shorten into the comfort tunnel of chair commute couch. Neck muscles lock forward, hips freeze, gut hormones misfire. Energy dips mid-afternoon, caffeinated sugar attempts a bailout, but the spike crashes harder. Evening motivation evaporates, so workouts get postponed, which promotes restless sleep, which erodes tomorrow's willpower. The spiral is self-funding. Reverse the decay with one unbreakable law: locomotion is non-negotiable. Before the sun clears the horizon, your heartbeat must surge. The modality is secondary: brisk mile through dawn mist, kettlebell complex on a patio, sun salutations under a ceiling fan, jump rope intervals in a garage. Attach this ritual to an immovable cue: alarm rings, shoes on. No debates, no mood check. The Praetorian Guard did not skip drill because drizzle threatened their sandals. Ignore the myth of motivation. Discipline begins where feelings end. Start small but relentless, 10 minutes daily for week 1, 15 for week 2. Consistency is the mother of intensity. Keep a wall calendar and slash each day completed. The red chain visualizes momentum. Combine movement with daylight to anchor circadian clocks, cortisol flushes, melatonin sets its timer, appetite and focus line up behind nature's metronome. Hydrate and salt post-session. Muscles cannot fire on determination alone. As the weeks stack, watch posture realign, shoulders roll back as scapular stabilizers awaken. Digestion smooths because gut peristalsis responds to torso torque. Mood steadies, serotonin partly resides in quads contracting through full range. Evening screen cravings dull because glucose tolerance improves. Decisions that felt heavy when hamstrings bound like twine feel lighter when blood hums through worn sinew. You negotiate salary raises without fidgeting because back extensors hold the frame. A walk and talk with a prospective investor no longer wins you, instead, rhythmic strides jog ideas loose. Layer progression, introduce loaded carries, hill sprints, mobility flows for ankles and thoracic spine. Each new stressor triggers adaptation, bone density grids strengthen, mitochondria multiply, VO max edges up. Motion breeds competence, competence breeds confidence. Weekly personal records, extra push-ups, quicker mile splits serve as real-time proof that effort converts directly into capacity. That feedback loop spills into spreadsheets and strategy decks. When you witness tangible gains in the gym, abstract goals at work feel more pliable. Integrate incidental movement. Set a 45-minute timer while writing. On each chime, perform 10 air squats or desk push-offs. Park farthest from entrances. Carry groceries 2 bags at a time like farmers' implements. Take stairs 2 at a stride, not to flaunt virtue, but to remind joints of their birthright. Convert phone calls into walking laps. Build tables that let you alternate sitting and standing. Let children ride your back like sacks of wheat during plank holds. Fatherhood doubles as weighted calisthenics. Guard against 2 false saboteurs, comparison and perfectionism. Your body may never mirror influences carved by lighting and laboratory supplements. That is irrelevant. The metric is relative vitality. Are you stronger, faster, clearer than last month? Likewise, life will ambush routines with travel, illness, deadlines. When forced off script, scale, don't skip. A hotel room burpee ladder keeps the chain unbroken. Walking lunges in an airport corridor maintain neural readiness. 10-minute yoga flows beside a sickbed preserve ownership of the day. Finally, sanctify recovery. The Stoics emphasize temperance. Stress without rest is hubris. Stretch, foam roll, downshift lights at dusk, ingest protein and micronutrients, breathe through diaphragms, not collarbones. A body well-trained but poorly rested leaks vigor. Sleep is the blacksmith where micro-trauma forges into resilience. Guard it as fiercely as any workout. In time you'll understand movement isn't another hobby crowding your schedule. It is the operating system upgrade that makes every other application run smoother. The meeting where ideas spark, the date where charisma flows, the crisis where calm reigns, all lean on the circulating proof that you still embody the lineage of migrations, battles, and hunts. Convenience shrank that epic story into a chair, discipline expands it back into motion. Stand up, step out, and write new chapters with your feet. Chapter 2. Neglecting your appearance. You may claim indifference toward looks, insisting substance outweighs surface, yet every glance in a window, every selfie retaken under softer lighting, betrays the truth. Appearance is a running referendum on how seriously you regard the vessel that carries your ambitions. A frayed collar, greasy hair, flaking beard line, none of these are harmless shortcuts. They are micro-messages of self-neglect readable at a glance. People register them faster than your handshake. Like weather fronts, they influence mood before language. When you broadcast disorder, onlookers subconsciously wonder what other corners you cut, attention to detail, punctuality, follow through. And they adjust expectations downward before the first word leaves your mouth. The Stoics taught that stewardship of the body is not vanity but vigilance. A tidy exterior frees the mind from background static. They described sloth as rust that corrodes judgment. Let grime coat your tunic and soon inertia clouds decision-making. Grooming lapses create fissures where bigger failures germinate. The undone shirt button soon mirrors undone commitments. The skipped shower foreshadows skipped deadlines. Shoes left unpolished begin walking you into half-hearted tasks. Conversely, each act of order, trimmed nails, pressed cuffs, clean scent, sends a memo to your subconscious, I can rely on myself. Reverse decline by converting grooming into ritual, not rescue. Ritual implies schedule, intention, and reverence. Assign care tasks to time slots as immutable as meals, Sunday night beard and haircut alignment paired with fresh sheets, symbolic reset for the week. Wednesday lunch break becomes nail maintenance while an audiobook drills new ideas. Dawn cold rinses jolt blood to the skin, tighten pores, and signal the nervous system that vigilance beats indulgence. Ritual eliminates negotiation. You no longer ask if you feel like grooming, you simply groom and claim the dividends. Build a wardrobe around simplicity that whispers competence. Neutral palettes and natural fabrics streamline decision fatigue, quality garments age gracefully and invite repair over disposal, echoing Stoic durability. Learn to sew a loose button, to pill a sweater, condition leather. Ironing a shirt transforms from chore to meditation, the hiss of steam, the smoothing of wrinkles parallel the smoothing of mental creases. Polishing shoes is a promise that your steps will be deliberate, not shuffling. As appearance sharpens, posture obeys. Straight shoulders and steady gait arise less from effort than from the absence of hidden shame. Strangers grant micro-privileges, held doors, quicker smiles, because humans are wired to respect signals of self-respect. Conversations skip the uphill part of earning credibility. Your presentation has already tilled the soil. Networking events feel less like auditions and more like strategy sessions among peers. Interviews pivot sooner from "can he do the job" to "how high can he climb?" Dates progress from superficial attraction to curiosity about your discipline. The most profound shift happens in private dialogue. Each small act of order revises in a narrative. If I can keep my wardrobe impeccable, perhaps I can keep my finances lean, my inbox tamed, my temper harnessed. Momentum gains compound interest. A man who masters a morning shave may next master meal prep, then coding syntax, then investment research. The domino effect works in either direction. Choose the one that topples upward. Consider what your reflection cost you last time you ducked a mirror. An instant of avoidance multiplies into a day of diminished assertiveness. Now imagine multiplying the opposite, meeting your gaze in polished glass, nodding at the disciplined figure staring back, then carrying that affirmation into every negotiation. Grooming, then, is not surface polish, it's structural reinforcement. It is a keynote signal that whispers to allies and adversaries alike, my exterior reflects an interior forged in the same fire. Complacency will always bargain cheap. Skip today, no one will notice. Refuse the offer. Accept instead the Stoic wager that outer order frees bandwidth for inner greatness. Care for the vessel so it can carry greatness over distances shortcuts cannot reach. The world is listening before you speak. Let your appearance recite the prologue your deeds will confirm. Chapter 3. Poor nutrition. Fuel a supercar with sludge and it sputters, yet modern men habitually load an evolutionary Ferrari with ultra-processed sugar, trans-fat shortcuts, and chemical dyes while calling the mess convenience. Breakfast arrives as a caffeine spike disguised in caramel foam and corn syrup pastries. Lunch detonates a sodium bomb packed in crinky plastic. Dinner scrolls down a grease-slick delivery app that rewards impatience with bloating. Beneath the taste buds, the bloodstream churns in quiet revolt. Inflammation rises like invisible smoke, fogging thought, dulling testosterone, spiking insulin, and forcing mood to ride a roller coaster it never bought a ticket for. Energy that should power ambition leaks into constant cravings. Discipline that should steer strategy gets hijacked by pantry raids at midnight. Stoic thinkers treated food with the same intentionality they gave to letters, speeches, military formations. They practiced restraint at the table because they saw gluttony as a gateway vice. A man who cannot decline a second helping is unlikely to resist gossip, bribery, or lust. Cato dined on simple porridge while senators indulged. He wanted his principles sharper than his palate. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the body needs little and not the finest, so that the mind stays light enough to climb its own heights. Nutrition, for the Stoic, was armor for judgment, not decoration for ego. Begin your revolt by auditing the pantry. Anything with an ingredient list longer than a haiku goes: foods grown, caught, or raised stay. Prioritize protein because muscle is insurance against injury, sickness, and age. Wild-caught fish, eggs with yolks like sunrise, legumes soaked and stewed. Surround that anchor with living greens, sulfur-rich crucifers, berries that stain fingers with antioxidants rather than artificial dyes. Carbohydrate should burn like oak logs: steel-cut oats, sweet potatoes, fermented sourdough, fuel that releases in hours, not minutes. Hydrate before hunger whispers, thirst masquerades as cravings that undermine resolve. Make your kitchen a dojo. Cooking teaches virtues the world forgets. Chopping onions demands presence, simmering sauces requires patience, seasoning to taste refines discernment. When you inhabit the process, eating becomes meditation, not mindless transaction. Each mindful bite informs signals between gut microbiome, the second brain, and the gray matter in your skull. As inflammation retreats, sleep lengthens, REM deepens, cortisol ebbs. Skin clears, joints loosen, libido climbs with testosterone rescued from sugar's sabotage. The brain, once forced to ration glucose spikes, now hums on steady keton and glycogen streams. Cognitive bandwidth formerly spent resisting energy crashes redirects toward creativity, sharper negotiations, playful banter that doesn't fade after lunch. The benefits compound socially and professionally. Boardroom endurance grows when blood sugar stays level. You listen longer, rebut sharper, outlast competitors who tank after buffet lines. In relationships, you become a lighthouse of stability, mood not swinging with Snickers but anchored in micronutrient plenty. Children mirror your habits, partners trust your self-command. Discipline on the plate translates to leverage in the bedroom and at the negotiation table. The man who can refuse empty calories can refuse empty temptations, late-night texts, frivolous spending, gossip clicks. Nutritional excellence isn't ascetic punishment, it's strategic liberation. It frees money once wasted on takeout, frees time once lost to energy slumps, frees self-respect shackled by guilt. One clean meal begets the next, momentum replaces motivation. Start tonight, boil water, salt it like seawater, drop in vegetables that still remember soil. Taste what patience does. Feel the steadiness that follows. Then carry that steadiness into every arena where strength is required. Chapter 4. The alcohol. You call it socializing. You call it relaxing. You call it well-earned fun after a hard week. But alcohol doesn't care what you call it, it just collects the toll. Every pour chips away at clarity. 1 drink dulls your edge, 3 steal your sleep, 5 rent your identity. Ethanol disrupts REM sleep cycles, inflames the brain, spikes cortisol, slows metabolic function, numbs dopamine receptors, and turns your bloodstream into a chemical swamp where focus can't grow. You may laugh more for a few hours, but you forget half of it the next morning. Your memory disintegrates while your bank account quietly bleeds. $18 cocktails here, $80 tabs there, $200 just one night out that erases weeks of budgeting. And what do you get in return? Judgment suspended at 1 a.m., only to birth obligations at 1 p.m., traffic violations, we need to talk texts, awkward damage control for things you don't fully remember. Alcohol tricks you into thinking it's connection. But real connection doesn't require chemical permission. Stoic joy is a sober joy. It remembers the joke, tracks the insight, wakes up excited instead of nauseous. It welcomes sunrise with clear eyes and no apology. Stoics didn't outlaw pleasure, they outlawed enslavement. The metric is not abstinence. The metric is agency. Can you choose to drink only for celebration, true milestones, earned victories, or has alcohol become the background noise of your life, a default reaction to boredom, anxiety, or loneliness? Draw the line with strategy, not shame. Set a hard ceiling, 2 drinks maximum, alternate each pour with a full glass of water. Choose an exit time before the second round glows. Be the one who leaves the party standing tall, not the one who fades into slurred monologues and regret. Track every cent you spend on alcohol. Add up your last month's bar receipts and watch as the numbers glare like a truth you've been ducking. A spreadsheet doesn't lie. That $300 could have gone into equities, a skill-building course, or gear for a dawn hike that rewires your nervous system in ways vodka never could. You want to reclaim your fire? Replace Friday night bar tabs with Saturday sunrise climbs. Swap late-night small talk for early flights to cities that are still yawning when you're already thinking, already writing, already building. The return on investment from clarity is exponential. Your skin clears. Your sleep deepens. You stop waking up anxious and unable to trace why. You stop apologizing for things that weren't a big deal until they unraveled into ones that were. And then comes the moment where your new routine gets noticed. Friends will tease. Let them. But when they're stranded at 2 a.m., when they need help moving on a Sunday morning, when they need an interest-free loan, or someone who's actually awake at dawn, you're the one they call. Not because you're perfect, but because you're dependable. While they orbit chaos, you've planted a flag in calm. You're building while others recover. This isn't about judgment, it's about arithmetic. Subtract just 1 night of binge drinking per week and you recover 8 hours of time, $100 in cash, 2 pounds of bloating, and 10 points of self-respect. Stack that weekly and you're a different man in a quarter. A man whose confidence doesn't spike when the music drops, it holds steady all day. A man who doesn't need a drink to flirt, doesn't need a shot to relax, doesn't need to forget the week because he spent it building something worth remembering. Alcohol has a place, but that place must be earned. Let it toast completion, not fuel delay. Let it honor discipline, not disguise dysfunction. Drink with purpose or don't drink at all. Because every man faces a crossroads, keep using alcohol as a cushion or remove the crutch and grow the muscle. One path keeps you stuck in weekend cycles that loop like reruns. The other puts you on an upward track, where energy, respect, and autonomy build quietly while others chase another round. People start noticing. Your conversations shift from gossip to strategy. Your dating life improves not because you're louder, but because you radiate control. Your mornings gain structure, your evenings lose chaos. And your circle evolves. Those who anchor in nightlife drift away. Those who respect sunrise find you. Stoicism teaches mastery over pleasure, not its rejection, but its reordering. When pleasure obeys you, it strengthens you. When you obey it, it weakens you. So tonight, choose clarity over numbness. Choose control over compulsion. You don't need a drink to relax, you need the self-respect of showing up sharp. Let others chase distraction. You'll be building the kind of life you don't want to escape from. One sober decision at a time. One clean, powerful day at a time. And in a year, when they ask what changed, you'll say, I stopped pouring my edge into the drain. Chapter 5, Being Messy and Unorganized. Your environment isn't neutral, it's a mirror, a teacher, and often, a tyrant. That cluttered desk isn't just visual noise, it's a breeding ground for decision fatigue. Those piles of unopened mail, half-used notebooks, tangled cords, and laundry stacks aren't just things to get to later, they are unspoken mental weight, whispering constantly in the background, siphoning bandwidth from your creative and cognitive energy. Each stray object demands micro-decisions. The shirt draped on the chair demands, wear me? Wash me? Moose me? The file with no name asks, keep me? Read me? Trash me? The result is paralysis by clutter. You may not realize it, But over time your brain tires faster, your threshold for productivity lowers, and resistance to focus becomes your default state. The Stoics understood that external chaos births internal instability. They trained and rested in barracks that were deliberately sparse, not because they despised comfort, but because they knew emptiness left room for discipline. Their physical spaces mirrored their mental ones, clean, intentional, austere, but powerful. A man who keeps his boots aligned and tools oiled is also the man who keeps his promises and calendar intact. Cleanliness was not about vanity. It was about readiness. When the call came to march or defend, there was no scrambling for armor. Start your campaign against disorder with a simple, immovable rule: 15 minutes a day. Set a timer. Choose a corner, a drawer, a file folder. Attack it like it insulted your integrity. Clear one shelf, name one folder, throw out one bag of unneeded relics. The key is not the volume, it's the victory. Every win tells your brain, I control this environment. I shape it. It does not shape me. That story compounds into identity. Label, discard, donate. Touch every object and demand a confession: do you serve or distract? If the answer is silence, the answer is discard. Don't delay into maybe piles. Maybe is how clutter metastasizes. Apply the same logic to digital life. Your inbox is not a badge of business, it's a signal of backlog. Archive what's dormant. Delete newsletters you never read. Unsubscribe without guilt. Your desktop isn't a landfill for impulse downloads, it's a cockpit. Treat it that way. Implement frictionless systems. Dirty dishes? Wash immediately, don't soak. Soaking is procrastination in disguise. Laundry? Fold and shelve within the hour. Bills? Paid on receipt, not batch processed in a panic. Phone photos? Review and delete weekly. Once systems click, micro-tasks stop accumulating into emotional resistance. You no longer step over piles or scroll past chaos with numbed awareness. You move with less hesitation because nothing is waiting to ambush your attention. The effects compound. You stop losing keys, wallets, receipts. That energy goes back into deliberate strides toward goals. You plan better because your tools, your calendar, your desk, your room are clean and ready for strategy. Time you used to waste looking for documents now becomes deep focus time. Your room starts resembling your mission. Your computer becomes an extension of your brain instead of its enemy. And people feel it. Visitors sense it instantly. Clients walk into your workspace and breathe easier. They assume your mind is as clear as your space. Potential partners register your hygiene and order as subconscious signals of safety. Dates sense that you are a man who builds peace into his domain. Even if they don't comment, they feel it: the way your bathroom smells clean but not chemical, the way your jacket hangs evenly, the way your bookshelf has more pages read than posed. Disorder is louder than it seems. Even when you think you've tuned it out, it's running in the background like a corrupted app draining battery. Fix it, and you'll notice more stamina in your focus, more clarity in your ideas, more calm in your transitions between tasks. You'll show up earlier, speak slower, and leave less undone. Why? Because your environment will no longer shout reminders of what you've ignored. Don't make it perfect. Make it better. One drawer. One surface. One inbox folder. Do it daily. In 7 days, your space starts to shift. In 30 days, your schedule does. In 90, your life does. You will feel lighter in your chest and sharper in your mind because every time you set something in its place, you tell your brain, my time matters. My mission matters. I do not tolerate environments that argue otherwise. Order is self-respect made visible. Let the world walk into your space and see who you are before you even speak. Then go forward into battle, house clean, files labeled, path clear, mind ready. Stoic strength begins with the room you stand in. Clean it. Keep it. Own it. Then go conquer something bigger. Chapter 6. Wasting time. You tell yourself you're recharging after a hard day, but the numbers on the clock don't lie. The quick scroll you call relaxation mutates into an hour of flickering disappointment. Instead of rested, you feel agitated, envious, vaguely angry at strangers whose curated wins mock your stalled progress. You exit one app only to enter the next, each designed to remove choice from the loop. Streaming queues autoplay, side quests lure you deeper into digital taverns, multiplayer marathons blur midnight into 3 a.m. Meanwhile, your workout plan stays theoretical. The startup idea sits untouched in Drive. The novel languishes at Chapter 2. The Stoics call time the only currency that cannot be refunded. You can earn more money, rebuild muscle, even regain reputation, never a lost second. Audit a single week with brutal honesty. For hours of passive consumption per day equals 28 hours per week, over 60 entire days every year, 2 months of potential mastery traded for forgettable trivia. The fix begins with a contract between impulse and intention. Institute creative replacement. For every hour surrender to entertainment, pay 40 minutes to skill creation, coding lines, sketching anatomy studies, filming product demos, recording language flashcards. Keep a ledger. At first the brain will rebel. The dopamine trickle from passive screens delivers instant certainty, while production demands friction. Combat the rebellion by locking your phone behind app timers from 8 p.m. to dawn, installing website blockers on your laptop, and positioning a visible countdown clock on your desk so seconds become audible footsteps marching away. Reclaim dead airtime by scheduling boredom on purpose. Leave earbuds at home during a walk. Let streets provide the soundtrack. Drive in silence, allowing the engine hum to reveal thought fragments buried under podcasts. Sit on a park bench with no agenda. The mind, starved of feed refreshes, will fidget its way into ideas, marketing hooks, plot twists, gym programming nuances. Keep a pocket notebook ready. Boredom is the forge where creative sparks finally register. As weeks pass, neurochemistry begins to rewire. The jolt once provided by cliffhanger episodes is replaced by the deeper hum of progress, a guitar riff cleanly executed, a blog post gone live, a side hustle storefront accepting its first payment. Each act of creation deposits confidence, making the algorithm's empty calories taste suddenly bland. Your attention recalibrates to longer wavelengths. You tackle a 90-minute deep work block without checking notifications, finish books you used to abandon, hold eye contact in conversations without itching for pocket validation. Peers brag about series finales. You listen politely while holding prototypes, portfolios, and stories lit by actual living, miles hiked at dawn, community classes taught, revenue charts trending upward. Momentum compounds. The 60 recaptured days yield skills that generate income, reshape physique, expand network. With each new ability, opportunity surfaces, freelance gigs, collaboration invites, speaking slots, none of which would have appeared had you stayed glued to the feed. Stress levels drop because agency rises. You are no longer hostage to content schedules but author of your own. Even leisure evolves. Movie nights become curated films discussed with friends over espresso. Gaming sessions become intentional tournaments scheduled after weekly goals are met. Output sets the terms for input, not vice versa. Yet vigilance must continue. Digital temptation will keep mutating, new platforms, new reels, endless swipe-to-shop gimmicks. Re-evaluate your audit monthly. Patch leaks immediately. Remind yourself in Stoic fashion that every click is a silent vote for the man you'll become. Post a note above your desk, memento tempus, remember time. Let it sternly greet every wandering urge. Because when you treat minutes like sacred currency, life responds with compounded dividends, richer relationships, sharper cognition, legacy projects finished rather than fantasized. The world will still binge and brag, you'll build and bring forth. And the quiet thrill of the difference will outlast all the finales that ever scroll across a shrinking screen. Chapter 7. Being Financially Irresponsible. Swipe now, ponder later. This is the silent creed of men trading tomorrow's sovereignty for today's applause. Another pair of limited edition sneakers drops. You pounce because scarcity is marketing's sharpest hook. A phone upgrade flashes its cinematic lenses. You comply because the camera you own suddenly feels prehistoric. You finance a car that dazzles on the curb but hemorrhages value by the minute. Each purchase broadcasts the illusion of victory while quietly drafting future invoices. Their interest compounds in the dark, metastasizing behind friendly user interfaces until one day your paycheck arrives paralyzed, 70% already pre-spoken for by subscriptions, credit card minimums, and that luxury lease that felt manageable before fuel prices spiked. Debt bends your backbone in ways subtle and overt. It tilts the moral axis of daily choices. You stay in a job where ethics corrode because quitting would ignite late-fee hellfire. You nod through disrespect in meetings because confrontation could cost the bonus you need to service your balances. You postpone marriage, fatherhood, entrepreneurship, dreams requiring runway because your runway is mortgaged down to gravel. Seneca warned that slavery often enters through debt rather than chains. The shackles feel velvet at first, points, perks, pay later promises. By the time metal bites, leaving feels impossible. Stoic frugality must not be confused with miserly fear. The Stoic goal is strategic dominance over circumstance. Money becomes a sword you sharpen, not a trophy you polish. Step 1 is ruthless transparency. Print every statement, cards, loans, auto-pays, and mark the interest rates in blood-red ink. Total them. Seeing the full figure drains the magic from manageable. The monster measured is the monster named, and named monsters can be hunted. Next, conscript every dollar into service with a zero-based budget. Essentials, roof, nutrition, bare-bones connectivity stand in the front line. Immediately behind, an emergency buffer, 1,000, then 1 month, then 3. Behind that, investments, index funds, treasury bills, or reputable dividend ETFs. Beyond that, development assets, courses, tools, licenses that amplify earning capacity. There is no category called because I felt like it. If discretionary pleasure does make the roster, it does so after mission-critical duties are funded, and even then it carries a 48-hour quarantine. Place desired items on a list and revisit after 2 sunsets. Cravings often expire in that silence. What survives is a candidate for purchase, not a guarantee. Automation turns budget from wish to law. Schedule transfers the morning the paycheck lands, emergency fund auto-draft, brokerage contribution, debt snowball payment. Human willpower is fragile at dusk. Let machines make decisions you settled while fresh. As balances shrink, momentum builds. Pay the smallest debt first for quick psychological wins or the highest interest for math superiority, but keep the snowball rolling. Celebrate each closed account by framing the paid-off statement next to your desk as proof of reclaiming territory. With cash freed, funnel surplus into assets that work while you sleep, broad market index funds that harness global enterprise, tools that rent out for weekend gigs, skill certifications that justify raises. When your money labors independently, the equation flips, waking hours evolve from necessity to option. Within a year, credit lines shrink, FICO climbs, and a strange calm seeps into choices once tinted by anxiety. The invitation to predatory overtime arrives. You decline because your buffer covers slow months. A toxic client barks, you fire him, knowing invoices no longer hold you hostage. Cash margin becomes moral margin. Lifestyle shifts follow. You trade luxury lease for a reliable used vehicle, pocketing hundreds monthly to accelerate investing. Vacation transforms from plastic-funded escape to cash-paid exploration that returns inspiration rather than guilt. Even generosity matures. You tip sharply, donate anonymously, seed friends' ventures, because giving from surplus strengthens community without destabilizing you. People notice. They ask how you walk unburdened while markets wobble. The answer isn't a secret, just unwelcome to those still seduced by display. You stopped buying evidence of success and started funding capacity for success. Over time, status symbols appear anyway, but now as byproducts, not bait. Quality footwear that lasts 10 years, a mechanical watch bought used and paid in full, property in a resilient zip code, each acquired only after your net worth could swallow the expense without flinching. These purchases broadcast mastery, not compensation for insecurity. Finally, guard the gate. Periodically reenact the transparency audit. Lifestyle creep is debt stealth cousin. Keep the 48-hour rule eternal. Mentor younger men on frugality. Teaching cements habits and multiplies impact. Remember that fortune is a tide, crashes, layoffs, pandemics. Stoic financial stewardship prepares not just for abundance but attrition. When storms hit, you will not cling to driftwood, you will rent boats to others. Financial irresponsibility is the quietest weakness because society applauds the very acts that dig the pit. Choose applause or choose authority. You cannot have both. Begin tonight, list debts, draft the zero-based plan, cut a card in half if ritual helps. Every dollar you redirect is a brick kicked from the wall of your cell. You will feel lighter, taller, less corruptible. Freedom has no billboard, but it radiates, and its glow is invitation enough for allies who value substance over show. Epictetus closed every lecture by asking, "What will you choose when you leave this room?" Now the room is closing on this episode, and the question is yours. Pick the single habit that hit you hardest, write it in the comments as a public contract, and replace it with one concrete action before you sleep: 10 push-ups, 1 budget draft, a trash bag of clutter gone. Tap like to seal your pledge, subscribe so next week's Stoic upgrade finds you stronger, and share this video with a brother still wrestling the same weakness. Change announced is change begun, change repeated is strength earned. I'll see you in 7 days. Arrive lighter in excuses, heavier in results.